Because the way the world works now is, I mean, anything that is good, people just attribute some European country to it. I mean, but I mean, when you hear belt in Africa, you just have that sense of entitlement that, okay, hey, something actually good is coming out from Africa, you know. So
You're in the right place. Welcome to the Built in Africa podcast, where we connect trailblazers of the African diaspora through the unifying language of tech. On this episode, we connect with Eugen Bleck, founder of Njaka, a tech community based in Buea, Cameroon, that's determined to give every African child access to the digital skills they need to build the future. Let's get into it. Embracing the pay it forward concept, Eugen shares how his tech journey started and what inspired him to create Njaka.
but with the uprising of technology, I think I had an opportunity to meet some ladies from the US, Irene Withermoth. I think I owe my career to her because they came to Africa and held a workshop on how to code. So back then it was pretty basic. I think it was Scratch. So I was intrigued by it. I did a few programs on Scratch. I pushed on for a year, then they had to go back to the US. So the dream sort of like died down for a while. But luckily, they had introduced us to an incubation hub in Buea at that time. We didn't even know the place, so it was actually Access Spaces. So it's a hub where you could come if you are enthusiastic about tech. You could come work. But the scenery was more or less the bigger guys, mature guys, and stuff like that. Yeah, so just imagine I was working with people in their 30s at the hub. You would feel intimidated. I mean, they have their things they're doing, you have your own things you're doing. And the scene wasn't too conducive at the time, but later on, I think 2 years down, I got into the university. Then I remembered the program Irene brought. Then I decided to create an organization, which is Njaka. It's essentially a community that actually teaches kids how to code. And the great thing is that we try to make them free. We don't charge for the events, so we can have an outreach of as many kids as we can. Because in my experience, I would say the people that have the skill and the desire to learn never actually have the money. In my case, that was the case. Irene, if she had said 30,000 francs CFA, I would have never. I would have just said no. I would have probably never actually gone for that class, because in saying so, it will mean I'll have to go see my parents to release the funds, and for them to release funds for something they did not even know or like, because the path I had to be was the doctor. Apparently, I'm a disgrace to my family if I were back then, though.
Since 2011, Njaka has held events in 5 of Cameroon's 10 regions and impacted over 5,000 kids. Listen as Eugen shares more about Njaka's events, impact, and connection to GDG Buea.
So essentially, we curate events based on the niche. For example, our last event was a code camp. So the first day we do some sort of like algorithm lessons, because that's, to me, be it a writer, be it whoever you want to be, you need to be able to understand how the computer works, and algorithms is fundamental. I mean, it's but required. So the first week, we would take these kids and go through a week of training with just learning basic instructions. Direct this person to move from here to there. Carry this cup, just by giving instructions. Don't just tell the person take the cup, but try to give instructions for the person to get the cup. So they start thinking procedurally. So it gives them how a computer thinks. Then we dive into Scratch, which is playful, fun. There are various others that we use, but we tend to use Scratch a lot because I think it gives them the creative power. So once that is done, we would identify the kids that are pushing fast. Then we will take them to another phase in Python. Luckily, we've gotten a few kids to do the Google Summer of Code. They've also been able to do a few projects. Some of them now are also in the university. Now, with the exposure in this community, you would notice another community like the GDG, which I happen to be an organizer at as well. So essentially, we host Google-related events, but we've gone out of our way to empower teams on how to code. So the way we are trying to build the structure of the community is Njaka will take the kids from when they're young to about 16, 17. Then we would introduce them into startups that are around, buzzing startups that have projects. By that time, they should have already been in the university, and we already hope that they'll be working.
From taking a psychology class to improve his teaching skills, to investing with his co-organizers in prizes like smartwatches and Raspberry Pis, Eugen continues to demonstrate his dedication to Njaka. Only the beginning. Listen as Eugen shares his long-term goal.
My end game is to create a center that would be there, right, where they would come in and just learn. So you need not have a computer. So because right now what I do for computers is I lobby startups. So they could give me their laptops during their break time and they bring it to my event space where I would have surely paid or lobbied so that they can actually have access to a computer. So we cannot do one kid on the computer for now. So two per computer. But the dream is get a really good space.
And that's it for this episode. If you haven't already, check out the full article on our website, builtinafrica.io, found in the description. And while you're there, subscribe to our newsletter so we may keep you up to date with the latest. But until then, keep building.